Good evening, folks. Happy Palm Sundays. Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, consulting companies and death of time. Good evening, folks. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Consulting companies and death of time. Our city employees stealing overtime here in the city of Yonkers, essentially stealing taxpayer money. Let's talk about it.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
Good evening, folks. How you doing? Happy Sunday. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, I want to talk about, good evening, Mode 85. Greetings to all. That's right. Tonight, I want to talk about consulting companies. What are consulting companies, and who has a consulting company, and why? Why do they have these consulting companies? What business are they engaging in under these consulting companies? And who has one, right? Who are in the city of Yonkers? And I'm speaking here specifically about officials and people engaged in politics or connected to politics. Specifically, not everyone that has a consulting company. And also, I want to piggyback off this past Friday's podcast with Anthony DiMaggio, where he, gave us some pretty heavy information there. He presented, information that is not public. He was able to get it, and it showed the hours broken down by people who work for, Yonkers Police Department, specifically Michael Koch, is it? And I forgot his name, Michael, the current CLSA president, I forgot, Hanley, I want to say Michael Hanley. And it shows their overtime hours, right? And he talked about the plunder pass, in which certain individuals will get this plunder pass if they do what they are told to do, right? They don't protect their members. They're not there to represent the officers out in the street every day, but instead they're there hoping to get a plunder pass once they're done as the president, right? And so he showed this chart where it showed the hours that they would get for overtime. And I mean, one of the, I believe it was Michael Koch, was getting 32 hours or something like that in overtime at $125 an hour. I mean, the guy was making every 2 weeks, like what, $3,700 or something more than that, right? Some people don't even make that much every 2 weeks working 80 hours, let alone in just this overtime that he was banking every 2 weeks. And it's important. I'll talk about that in a bit, but I want to talk about consulting companies and what are consulting companies. And this was brought to my attention by people and the viewers, people here in the city of Yonkers, right? And they want to know what this is about. And listen, Steve, you kind of put yourself out there, Mr. Steve DeVert, the flirt, I hear they call you. And this is Mike Breen's, council member Mike Breen's with 5th District's chief of staff. I've also heard handler. I don't know. But Travert has a consulting company called Travert Consulting Group, LLC. And many people wonder, what does it actually do? What are consulting companies? Let's take a look at consulting companies. And by the way, tonight, I want to go over some of the comptroller's reports on the city of Yonkers. Let's hear what he has to say. It's not good. Not good at all, actually. I don't think any of the reports are ever really good, and I wonder why nothing more is done. If I spelled company wrong, excuse me. A consulting company, in many ways, can be used to launder money. It's easy to launder money using a consulting company because there's no real tangible product or service at times. And I wanted to give you the Wikipedia definition. Here we go. A consultant firm, or simply consultancy, is a professional service firm that provides expertise and specialized labor for a fee. though the use of consultants, consulting firms may have one employee, as in the case of one of these companies I'll show you, or thousands. They may consult in a broad range of domains, for example, management, engineering, and so on, or political consulting, campaign consulting, right? And is that a way to launder money? I was given, about a year ago, I was given a tip to a gentleman by the name of John Rubel, the councilman for the 4th District, and I was informed of a consulting company that he had called The Perfect Solution, John Rubel, Inc. And I'll get into that. Consulting company scams. Some scammers sell bogus business, coaching, and internet promotion services, use fake testimonial videos. Oh, that's not what I'm looking for. I was looking for this definition when it talked about a consulting company, and scams. It was a good definition, but I can't find it. Oh, launder money. That's what it was. Yes, consulting companies continue to be used for money laundering in European, German-speaking countries, but all over, especially in layering and integration stages of the money laundering process, during which the origins of the funds are concealed and the money is integrated into the legal economy. Right? So you find a way to get it into your bank account. Money laundering is the process of illegally making a large amount of money and hiding it to make it look like it was generated from legitimate sources. The money normally comes from activities like drug and sex trafficking, terrorist activities, and other illicit means like election fraud, extortion, attacks through online social media accounts. And it's just a way to raise money and also fund it into your account, right? So if you have a candidate and you put them to run and you raise all this money from all these people that are looking to curry favor, so they don't care what you do with the money, essentially, right? They don't care if you put it in your pocket, whatever. As long as they donated, you know that they get their favor, they're good to go. And then you create a consulting company. Campaign manager, LLC, consultant, LLC. And then your candidate hires your company at a rate of $100,000 for the campaign. And this is something that's been brought up into question in the Mike Cater lawsuit when you, in regards to Rose Press Inc., which is the printing company that is owned by the mayor's brother-in-law. And you'll see a large amounts of the money when you look at the candidates' expenditures goes to Rose Press Inc., right? So what's going on there? So what is Steve Tvert doing? And so people pointed this out and they said, Freddie, what's this all about? I said, I don't know. Tvert Consulting Group, LLC. Martinelli for mayor, Tvert. Stephen Tvert. You've been around for a while, Stephen. How old are you? You sounded pretty young on that recording that you left on Carolyn's phone when you were apologizing for the bonehead thing that you had done, creating fake accounts to attack a single mom, a woman here in the city of Yonkers, all because she speaks out on the corruption. That's not okay. Let's look at Mr. John Rubel. I don't want to just pick on Steve Tvert. John Rubel has a company called The Perfect Solution, John Rubel Consulting, Inc. Now, he also got PPP money. And it was forgiven. $19,061. But what does this company do? What is John Rubel doing? Right? Kind of like strategic planning. Yeah, but at least strategic planning, I guess they have clients, they provide a service. Their clients actually get stuff, right? Tasha Diaz, they didn't pass the housing ordinance. So he's doing his job, Nick Spano. But what is John Rubel doing? What is he doing with A Perfect Solution, John Rubel Consulting, Inc.? What is he consulting? And I looked into it a bit. It was a credit card processing company is what I could find. He has one employee. I would imagine that's him. Never mentioned this until I brought it out. And the anonymous text that I got said that AMS was one of the clients. Now, why would that be an issue? Or why would that be, something that we should be curious about? Because is it a way to bypass campaign finance laws? By law, candidates are only allowed to receive a certain amount of money depending on their, the office they're running for. And I believe for a city council, it's $2,000. But if they want to give more money, are they hiring AMS, his landlord, the ones doing massive amounts of residential developments here in Yonkers? Are they hiring his consulting company, writing him a check, and it all looks legit? Unless anyone questions it, the government's not going to say nothing. If he pays the taxes on it, he's good to go. Nobody will know. None of us will know. And AMS just gave him $60,000. He sits as the chair of the real estate committee. Again, they are his landlord at the Yonkers Brewing Company, the company where he got $146,787 of PPP loan forgiven, even though he was sued by employees for not paying wages. And now John is actually doing a some kind of job business, employee thing. And it's very funny. It's kind of like, John, you were just sued by your employees for not paying them. They had to take you to federal court, even though you got free PPP money to keep your employees and pay them. And you said so yourself that you had to let them go. And you got over 300,000. Maybe that's why the feds is on you now. Maybe that's why. 163,000 here and 144,000 there. And then let's not forget his consulting company, A Perfect Solution, John Rubo Inc., which also received $18,700. And he had $19,000. The interest was all forgiven. But he had one employee. That employee is him, the councilman, who was still getting paid by the city as a councilman. And he was getting over $300,000 in PPP money at another business. I mean, these guys are raking it in. So what are these guys doing? And it might be sorry if I'm stuttering a little bit. In my back there, my internet's been on acting crazy. And they're probably like, shh, target him, the internet. So what are these consulting companies about? We see Stephen Trevert has one. We see John Rubo has one. Zahi Jeris has Precision Strategies. And actually, I saw that Nader Sayage used Precision Strategies, spending about almost $100,000 with them. But does he do a lot of consulting, campaign consulting? Who else hires Precision Strategies? So are these companies ways that they are laundering money? I don't know. I'm just saying they keep them low. Nobody knows about them. They don't have any information. John Rubo's never mentioned this. He's talked about the Yonkers Brewing Company. We know he's a councilman, but then we know about A Perfect Solution, John Rubo Inc. And what do they do? And who are their clients? Now, to be fair to these guys, Freddie Vasquez has a consulting company also. I do. I'm guilty. I have an educational consulting company. And you know what that company does? They manage little prodigies. That's the company. That's the business. So when we get paid, we don't get paid. Well, actually, we can get paid on the little prodigies and also AVA, just depending. And we also provide other educational services. Tangible. You can see them. You can come into our establishment. You know we're there. And the reason why we do a consulting company is because it's the bigger company. Then we have little prodigies, and then we have other services that we provide, like counseling services, therapeutic services. So it's different, that all have to do with education. But we're there. You see us, right? You know what we're providing. Unlike these companies where you don't know what they're doing, they're keeping them hidden. But they have to form these companies in order to get paid and make it look legit. No need to pay Rubo for his consulting services. If you want John's opinion about something, just get it from Mike Spano. Yeah. Well, Anthony DiMaggio, thank you for your comment. Speaking of Anthony DiMaggio, his Friday podcast was very informative. It showed the plunder pass, where individuals are getting all this overtime hour, $125 an hour, Some of them were receiving up to 32 hours of overtime. Individuals making $7,000 to $8,000 in a month in just overtime. Now, are these legitimate overtime hours? I talked about the mayor's nephew, works over at DPW, who made over $207,000 with overtime, making more than the mayor. And so are these legitimate overtime hours? Sources, insiders are saying no, they're not. Anthony DiMaggio saying no, they're probably not. They don't make sense. Why would a lieutenant need all these 1 hour overtime every day? And is it just, a way for them to get rewards and perks and benefits for doing what they were told in other positions? And so, according to Anthony DiMaggio, the position of the traffic commanding officer of the traffic unit is like a cush, fluffy position that people get, a reward position that people get where they can easily get a lot of this overtime by just putting in, detail here, detail there, traffic duty or whatever, and no one really will question it. But that's a lot of money. And the problem here, aside from that, Anthony DiMaggio is saying that this individual from the CLSA, the president, is getting this for not fully representing his members, which is a problem in itself. But the huge problem is also the theft of time, stealing of taxpayer money, and how many people that work within the city are doing this, and how much taxpayer money is being stolen every year. This is the problem, because we always cry broke and then we blame the state. Every last one of them, including Corazon Pineda, who now is criticizing the mayor for doing just that. But not one of them has criticized the fact that there is so much overtime being given out. And the fact that Thomas DiNapoli, the state comptroller, has mentioned this in many of his audits. Yonkers needs to stop wasting so much money on overtime. I say wasting because if they're fraudulent, then it's being wasted and stolen. To the tune of $4 to $5 million a year, Yonkers has been going over budget on its overtime, according to the New York State Comptroller. So why hasn't this been addressed? Anthony Moranti, the accountant, the guy that's good with numbers. Why haven't you noticed this? This is their primary responsibility, the city council. Their primary responsibility is the budget. Are they not reading the New York State Comptroller's report? Do they care? Let's take a look. Honorable Mike Spano. This is May 16, 2022. Dear Mike Spano and the City Council members, Chapter 55 of the Laws of 2014 authorizes the City of Yonkers, subject to certain requirements, to issue serial bonds not to exceed $45 million to liquidate deficits in the city school district's general fund as of June 30th, 2014. Additionally, Chapter 55 requires the city to submit to the State Comptroller and the Commissioner of Education, starting with the fiscal year during which it was authorized, to issue obligations, and for each subsequent fiscal year during which the deficit obligations are outstanding, its proposed budget for the next succeeding fiscal year. The proposed budget must be submitted no later than 30 days before the date scheduled for the City Council's vote on the adoption of the final, or the last date on which the budget may be finally adopted, whichever is earlier, The State Comptroller and the Commissioner of Education must then examine the proposed budget and make recommendations as deemed appropriate after examining the city's estimates of revenue and expenditures. The City Council, no later than 5 days prior to the adoption of the budget, must review all recommendations made by the State Comptroller and the Commissioner of Education and make adjustments to its proposed budget consistent with the recommendations made by the State Comptroller and the Commissioner of Education. The state comptroller's recommendation on the city's proposed budget for the 2022-23 fiscal year are contained in this report. Our office has completed a review of the city's proposed budget for the 2022-23 fiscal year. The objective of the review was to provide an independent evaluation of the proposed budget. Our review addressed the following questions related to the city's proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year. Are the significant revenue and expenditure projections in the city's proposed budget reasonable? Based on the results of our review, we found that significant revenue and expenditure projections in the proposed budget are unreasonable. In addition, officials' continued practice of using debt to pay for recurring costs is imprudent. To accomplish our objective, we reviewed the city's proposed budget, salary schedules, debt payment schedules, and other pertinent information. We identified and examined significant estimated reviews and expenditures for reasonableness, with emphasis on significant and/or unrealistic increase or decreases. We analyzed, verified, and/or corroborated trend data and estimates where appropriate. We identified significant new and unusual or unusually high revenue or expenditure estimates, made appropriate inquiries, and reviewed supporting documentation to determine the nature of the items and to assess whether the estimates were realistic or reasonable. I'm going to skip down a little bit. So this is, you hear what they're saying. They're supposed to review the comptroller's report before adopting the budget. And the comptroller has stated time and time again that the city of Yonkers is spending way too much on overtime. It's going over budget, $4 to $5 million, not just one department, but at least two departments. That's $8 to $10 million over budget. And that's just one area of wasteful spending. So I won't go over it, over this part here. So I'll move on to the next. How should leave accrue? Leave accruals, time and attendance, and overtime. Overtime. Leave accruals were not properly monitored, costing the city money. And I'll put this report up. I won't read everything because it'll take for the sake of time. Parks Department. Employees use a request form for a vacation and personal leave, but not for sick leave. They notify their supervisor by phone or email when using sick leave. 11 of 20 employees reviewed used sick time totaling 109 hours with no documentation that management was notified or approved the sick leave. I wonder if that was going out when they were getting petitions. It's important to differentiate between OT, that is work legitimately, which is most of it, and the plunder pass, which is mayoral permit to claim OT. Right. No, definitely. There's definitely legitimate and there's definitely not legitimate stuff. And I'm going to base off what the comptroller is saying here. And what you showed, even if it's one person, is still something that needs to be addressed. And since it's one person that's doing it and we can show that, then the entire employee, the whole entire department needs to be reviewed, and all departments need to be reviewed. Engineering department. For sick leave, employees either call into the action center or supervisor or notify the supervisor by email, depending on their CBA. 4 of 7 employees reviewed used sick leave accruals totaling 48 hours with no documentation showing that management was notified of or approved the sick leave. In addition, 6 employees took vacation or personal leave totaling 108 hours that was not approved by a supervisor. Furthermore, the departmental payroll clerk did not always record employees' accruals correctly. I wonder why. For example, 2 employees used sick or vacation leave accruals totaling 19 hours, which were not charged to their accrual balances. I wonder why. Planning department. Employees do not use leave request forms, but instead email the commissioner or deputy commissioner when using vacation or personal time. However, emails are not attached to timesheets to ensure leave requests are recorded as approved. for sick leave, employees either call in or send an email or text message to the commissioner or deputy commissioner. Really? Text message? When employees take sick leave during the day, it is verbally approved. 4 or 5 employees reviewed use sick and vacation leave in 7 instances, totaling 56 hours with no documentation, approval by a supervisor. And so this is the problem. This is the mismanagement of our city right here. And is our city council reading this? Police department. The police department has its own system to maintain all department employees' leave accruals. If I'm saying that right, accruals. Additionally, the 2 department payroll clerks maintain the accruals of the commissioner, deputy chiefs, and civilian employees in the city's payroll system. However, city officials do not reconcile the accrual balances in both systems. We found that the department records for 10 of 11 employees we selected and reviewed did not agree with the city's records for vacation and sick accrual balances. So they just picked 11 people randomly, and 10 of them had issues. They randomly selected these people, and 10 of them. So that means that damn near 100% of the city employees are not recording their sick leave, their vacation time correctly. And so why is that? This is why our kids don't have any money. We have to care about this. I'm sorry. This is why our kids don't have any money. This is why our roads look like crap. This is why we are in the situation they're in. And then they want to say we need developers, luxury developers, to help our city. No, we need better management. We need people that are competent. Tasha Diaz cannot do the job. No disrespect. And Moranti is the most qualified one, but he's not doing the job. So can any of them do the job? This is BS. This should make you all mad. This should make you all mad. Unless, of course, you're the ones taking advantage of this. This is why the city doesn't have money. If your child is in a public school, you should be mad. You should be upset. This is not okay. This is not okay. This is why we're missing so much tax money. Unbelievable. Like this, where's Thomas DiNapoli? Are you just going to continue writing reports and do nothing? Unreal. The employees had either fewer or more hours in the city system, ranging between -64 to 645 hours. For example, one employee had 645 vacation hours more, and another employee had 15 sick hours less in the city system than the police department system. Dang, that's a big difference, 645. Wow. The absence of citywide leave accrual procedures and guidelines and the lack of supervisory oversight increases the likelihood that employees' leave accrual balances may be inaccurate, and employees could use leave time to which they are not entitled or have not earned. In addition, city officials cannot properly determine the amount of payments due to employees when they leave city employment or ensure they are compensated for the leave time to which they are contractually entitled. But do you think that's by accident? Whether intentionally, whether it's directly, intentionally done, or indirectly by hiring incompetent, unqualified friends. Family. This is how nepotism causes a problem. If it's not being done, on purpose, which I'm leaning towards, then it's because of this nepotism system. This is not okay. If you're not a part of this, you're being robbed. Our city's being robbed. They're taking the tax money. No one's watching. It's a free-for-all. Unbelievable. Fire department. We randomly selected 20 out of 445 firefighters and the departmental payroll clerk to review the leave accrual records for the 2 months selected. Firefighters are allowed an unlimited number of sick days according to their CBA. The departmental payroll clerk, who is allowed 12 days of sick leave per year under her CBA, maintains all leave accrual records for the civilian employees and also for herself. We found that this individual used 11 hours of sick leave that were not approved by the commissioner, who did not sign the leave request forms. Allowing the payroll clerk to maintain her own leave accrual records without oversight creates a risk that this individual could potentially take sick leave, which she is not entitled to. And why do they do that? They allow her so she can allow others. Let's use our brains here. Let's be smart. Let's not act stupid anymore. This is why I want to be your mayor, because that would not be happening. But they cheat on these elections also. This is not okay. Everybody from the Southeast, Southwest, Northeast, Northwest, if you're not a part of this and stealing money, you should be upset. Incompetent is the operative word, exactly. They allow this. They allow her to do it, so she allows it for other people. She looks away, and it's all fun and games. Look at the employee salaries. People making $250, $260, $270 a year. People are losing their jobs. They can't afford these rents. And many of these folks don't even live in Yonkers. And I'm not trying to beat on you folks, but if you're taking money like this, you're hurting a city and you don't care. That makes you a thief. There's kids that are hurting in this school district, but you don't care because you live upstate and your kids are in a different school district, right? They're in a better school district. That's not okay to me. Don't be selfish. Unbelievable. Management is covering for friends and family. They are benefiting at our expense. Absolutely. Bunch of crooks, yo. What is going on here? Look at this. What is going on here? Employees exceeded the vacation carryover limit. The city's policy and CBAs established the maximum amount of vacation that an employee can carry over from year to year. Employees covered under the city policy were allowed to maintain a maximum of 210 hours, and employees covered under CBAs can carry over a maximum of 385 or 440 hours, depending on their daily work hours. It is the responsibility of the commissioner and the department heads to ensure that the policy and CBA conditions are consistently followed and to supervise the scheduling and approval of vacation leaves within their departments. City officials did not follow established city policies. I repeat, city officials did not follow established city policies and CBAs regarding employees' vacation balance carryover limit. The 6 departments we audited, 31 of the 120 employee records reviewed, exceeded the maximum amount of vacation that city policy or CBAs allowed them to carry over to 2017 by a total of 9,707 hours, with an estimated cost of $431,000. We paid that. We paid that. The taxpayers, our kids paid for that. So when they're shutting down these programs in the high schools and in the schools, when our cheerleaders can't get $2,000 mats, this is why. This is why. $2,000 mats, they shut down a whole cheerleading program. But these people are stealing $500,000 worth of taxpayer money. Not okay, folks. You should be upset. Your kids go to the Yonkers Public School, you should be upset. And you should vote these individuals out. Tasha Diaz, the chair of the Education Committee, will go and blow $10,000 on some stupid award thing over at Castle Royale. And who gets some of that $10,000? Who owns Castle Royale? They put their taxpayer money in their pocket so she can give out awards to the same old people. Lorraine, I'm sorry you got upset, but all I ask is that you thank the taxpayers because we paid for it. Same people get awards. Same people. You guys really think that those awards are something? Do you put them up in your homes? I really want to know. Those meaningless awards. $10,000 of taxpayer money. Remember when she paid $2,000 of taxpayer money on chocolates? But we can't get matched for a cheerleading. So an entire squad of girls who had an extracurricular activity, something positive, well, they can get a scholarship, did you know, for cheerleading? No, they can't because $2,000 match, they can't get that, right? So cancel that. No more program for them. Let Tasha Diaz spend $10,000 on some bullcrap awards so the Castle Royale could make money and everybody else that she went to. Let's see who all the vendors are. Let's see who's the DJ. All these people taking our money. Enough. We have to vote them out. They're the ones voting for all these developments that you can't afford while stealing your money. That's a fact. Time to vote them out. Enough is enough. Yo, this upsets me, man. When they take things away from our kids, and this is what they're doing, they're stealing. Like you're stealing. Stealing. And you want to sit up there, act like you're somebody, and you're so special, and you're so smarter, and you're better because you're making this money that you're stealing. You're a thief, essentially. It's not okay. That's why they got these fake profiles and they come and attack me and others. That's why you see their faces when I go to these, events and I see some of them there. The looks that I get from a few, I see it. They're mad because I'm exposing their thievery, their corruption. They don't like it. Stop stealing. At least let the kids get programs. Unreal. $431,000. The hours range from 6 to 1,758 hours over the carryover limit. Of the 31 employees, 25 of 31 selected randomly, 25 exceeded the hours of their CBA carryover allowance and 6 exceeded the city policy carryover allowance. There was no documentation that the department commissioners approved employees to carry over vacation over the limit. Of course not. They're not going to sign off on that. When oversight of employee vacation balances is lacking, there is a risk that employees could receive more in separation payments than they are entitled to when they leave city service. How many people already? How much money already? Police supervisors did not provide oversight of department compensatory time, creating an overtime requirement. When police supervisors and officers work overtime, they have the option to accrue the overtime as compensatory time. Supervisors should approve employee compensatory time in advance of being earned or used. According to CBAs, employees may maintain a maximum compensatory time bank of 180 hours. The CBA also states that a request to use compensatory time is to be approved by police commissioner only if it does not result in additional personnel being hired and/or create an overtime requirement. The police commissioner delegated the responsibility of approving compensatory time to police supervisors, including requests to convert earned overtime to compensatory time or requests to use compensatory time. However, supervisors did not always approve it before it was earned or it was used and did not follow CBA requirements for maximum compensatory time bank limits that employees may maintain. We reviewed 2 months of compensatory time between July 2016 and January 2017, accrued or used by 41 employees. For 19 employees, a total of 223 hours of compensatory time was approved 1 to 4 days after time was earned or used. And 44 hours for 8 employees was approved 5 or more days after the time was earned or used. Furthermore, police supervisor approval compensatory time often created an overtime requirement. During our audit period, the city paid over $903,000 in police overtime to cover compensatory, if I'm saying that right, leave time used by other police supervisors and officers. Almost $1 million to cover leave time by other officers, which they're getting paid. So they're getting paid, and then these guys are getting paid this overtime money to cover them. More money, more money, more money. This is contrary to CBA requirements, which provide that compensatory time should not be approved if it creates a need for overtime. But how many people did you see there in that overtime list, Anthony DiMaggio, who were getting paid overtime because they were covering other people? Huh? Say what? Say who? Where are the Yonkers homeowners? Hello, Yonkers homeowners. That's what I'm saying. Yonkers homeowners. Do they even care to know what their taxes are contributing to? That's why your taxes are going up as well. Yonkers homeowners. How about their water bills? Yes, when you have these developers using all the water without meters on the hydrants, of course your water bill is going to go up. Where are the old neighborhood watchdog committees? What is going on? Many have been bought. People who head them probably have some kind of cushy job or some kind of appointment that makes them feel special. And so they will screw the city. That's foul. Charter schools work with way less money and we got more things going for our kids. Ain't that right? I wouldn't want no awards from them who are they that they award holds no weight, but you ain't lying. It do be the same people over and over. F out of here. They recycle one another. I call them the recyclables. Oh yeah, somebody who watched Friday's pod reminded me of that today. Koch plunders about 30 hours of OT per period in pay alone. Wow. Whatever other OT he steals in comp time does not appear on those printouts. It could be dozens of more hours. FBI, DOJ, are you watching my show today? If you are, you need to come here. They're stealing our money and we'll be broke soon. Being broke is near, I should say, right? Sorry, not a rapper. But this is unbelievable, man. They're paying almost $1 million of overtime to cover other people's leave time when they're not even supposed to be doing that. You can't do that. If it's going to create overtime, then they cannot approve those leave times. They don't care. We reviewed the compensatory time accrual for balances of all 721 police department employees who earned this time. Of a total 731 police department employees, and found a lack of supervisory oversight. Of course, by the end of 2016, 80 employees exceeded the maximum compensatory time bank of 180 hours allowed by the CBA's, totaling 2,672 hours, 11%, which were carried over to 2017. 6 of these employees exceeded the maximum by 100 hours or more. Wow. 100 hours or more. I'm going to do the math here. That's 12,500 at 125. I should have known that off the top of my head. What's wrong with me? All right. In addition, 5 employees had a deficit balance in their compensatory accrual balance totaling negative 55 hours, indicating that the supervisor approved their use of compensatory time before it was earned. So they're putting us in debt. They're basically putting us in debt doing that. Sure, I put you in debt by 55 hours, about $6,000, almost over $6,000 in debt right there. The lack of oversight by department heads resulted in compensatory time not being approved before it was earned or used, created overtime expenditures. That's huge. Created overtime expenditures and allowed employees to exceed the time bank limit contrary to CBA requirements. By increasing oversight and monitoring the compensatory time, police supervisors could potentially help the city minimize overtime cost. Says it right there, Mr. Thomas DiNapoli. Has our city managers been reading this? I mean, listen, even I'm tripping up on some words. I could only imagine. How should the time and attendance and overtime be managed? They even tell them how to do it. We have to tell the city. City officials are responsible for developing written payroll policies and implementing control procedures to help ensure that payroll is processed consistently and accurately. Procedures should ensure that time and attendance records are accurately maintained so that hours worked are accurately reported. Transactions should be properly authorized, recorded, and reported. Employees accurately paid for time worked, and employees' work routinely monitored and reviewed. Each employee's time record should be signed by the employee and reviewed and signed by the supervisor to certify the hours. It sounds simple to me. Supervisors did not always review time and attendance records for accuracy. DPW, time and attendance records were not always submitted by all in DPW. Neither employees nor supervisors are required to sign and certify that the hours reported on the timesheets are accurate. What? Neither employees nor supervisors are required to sign and certify that the hours reported on the timesheet are accurate. Oh, is that how it's done, Steve? Is that how it's done? If management likes you, you can get away with almost anything, I bet, and many are. If they don't, you're held to the rules. You're held to more than the rules, actually, because they will actually, retaliate and do things to you. They'll mess with you. They'll make it unpleasant for you. But look at that. At DPW, no one is certifying the hours that are being submitted. Like, how do you imagine that. Imagine I just did that. Imagine we didn't go over the employee hours every week. And you know why? You know how many times an employee of mine has forgot to clock out? We had to adjust that. Or forgot to clock out at the time they're supposed to clock out, and they were doing all this other stuff, and then they don't say nothing to us, but they think, nah, we're not paying you for just to chill and mingle, be on your phone because you forgot. Oh, wait, I forgot. It's almost 30 minutes after. You do that enough time, that's a lot of money. But you need someone that's on top of that cares to manage the city's money properly, right? Treat it the way it's supposed to be treated. But when it's not their money, they don't care. They don't care. And so that's unbelievable. No one certifies it. We reviewed one pay period and corresponding timesheets for 26 randomly selected DPW employees who received approximately $59,000 for 1,300 hours work. Timesheets were not signed by the employees, and there was no evidence that supervisors reviewed and approved them. In addition, in 5 of the 6 departments we reviewed, planning, engineering, parks, DPW, and fire, supervisors did not provide oversight to ensure that employee hours worked are accurately reported by the department payroll clerk to the city's central payroll office for processing. Although our review did not find any discrepancy in our hours reported by the department payroll clerks, the central office payroll clerk told us that the department payroll clerks had occasionally contacted her to correct hours that they incorrectly submitted for payroll processing. Without supervisory review and approval of employee timesheets, there is no assurance that employee hours worked are accurate and employees could be paid for time not worked. In addition, without appropriate supervisory review, there is a risk that departmental payroll clerks could report employees' time worked incorrectly without the error being detected. Supervisors did not always pre-approve overtime and review overtime hours reported. City officials did not ensure overtime hours worked were properly approved and supported as required by city policy. Of 20 DPW employees reviewed. DPW supervisors did not review and approve overtime hours worked for 10 employees who received payments totaling $6,732 for 108 overtime hours for the pay period reviewed. This is unbelievable. I could only imagine if we had a forensic audit. Let's have a forensic audit, independent, go in there. 5 of these employees did not submit an overtime form with a description of the purpose for the time they had worked. They just, hey, here you go. I think I'm going to put 10 hours. Maybe I'll put 30. Who cares? So they submit overtime form with a description, did not provide a description of the purpose for the time that they had worked, which totaled 67 hours, or payments of approximately $4,000. So far, that's $10,000 right there. Furthermore, parks, DPW, and fire department supervisors did not provide oversight to ensure the overtime hours were accurately reported by the departmental payroll clerk to the central payroll office. We found minor issues that were verbally communicated to the city officials that may not have occurred if the supervisors performed their oversight. Wow. There is an increased risk that the city could pay more overtime costs than necessary. What do we recommend? And they tell you all the recommendations. Folks, this is bad. Bad. Dear Mayor Spano and the city clerk or city council members, by letter dated July 10, 2018, the Office of the State Comptroller as fiscal agent for the city of Yonkers determined that the city's adopted budget for the fiscal year of 2018 to 2019 and the related justification documents are in material compliance with the requirements of the Fiscal Agent Act. Prior to determination of the city's budget is not effective and the city is not allowed to take action on the budget. So prior to this determination, the city's budget is not effective and the city is not allowed to take action on the budget. However, it has come to our attention that the city took action on the budget prior to receiving approval by mailing tax bills in late June. Such action is not in compliance with the requirements of the Act. Generally, the Act requires the city to appropriate for each cost category at least as much as was appropriated or spent in the previous 2 years, and to only anticipate receiving miscellaneous revenue in the amounts no greater than the amounts received in the prior 2 years. If the city wants to appropriate less money or budget additional miscellaneous revenue, it must provide us with detailed justification supporting the proposed action. While we have determined that the 2018-19 budget materially complies with the provisions of the Act, we wish to comment on the following issues which impact the city's financial condition in the current and future years. The city's 2018-2019 budget totals $1.2 billion. The budget includes operating and debt service funding of $615.6 million for the Yonkers Public Schools and $575.2 million for the city. Right. And so they talk about different things. Another complaint is that the city in prior years, we have expressed concern about the city's practice of financing recurring operating expenditures with non-recurring funding sources. So basically what they're saying is that you cannot pay recurring bills that you get every month, let's say, with money that you get once here and there, a one-time deal. And this is what they probably mean the most, right? When the city is set to get a sum of money, right? That's a one-shot deal, like we did with the pandemic relief money. What do? They go and hire more people. They hire way more people and give a lot of promotions, like we've seen recently. The mayor promoted a lot of people. That's more money. But the problem is the city has not generated more money. What they have gotten was a one-shot deal. So you can't use that to go and promote and hire more, because once that money's up, you still have those employees that you hired and that you promoted that you still have to pay. So where's that money going to come from? So essentially that's going to put us in debt later down the line. It's like the subprime lending, right? With the variable rates, the variable mortgage rates, when people got those mortgages and they had the low rate You know what I'm saying? And then they were like, well, we could, if it goes up, we should be making more money, right? And when the rate goes up, they're not making more money. And so now they got this bigger mortgage payment that they can't handle, right? Or they do that, you know, when they got into where the rate was low, the interest rate was very, very low, right? For the first 5 years, but then it was going to shoot up to a high interest rate. And they took that deal just because that was the only way they could afford it. But when after 5 years, when they weren't earning more money, guess what happened? They had to foreclose. So that's essentially what's happening here. But in the city, they don't foreclose. They raise your taxes. Or they lay people off. Or they cut programs. That's what they do. Cut programs. That's been the biggest thing. And it was all bogus. When they combined the city and the school budget, that was all bogus. That wasn't a mistake. That was purposely done. So both budgets could come under the control of the administration. It was a game. Why is Native Sage not fired? He was the president of the Board of Trustees, but they fired other people, right? And who did they keep? They kept their people to manage the money. So this is just a little bit, folks, of what what is there. There's, almost every audit is the same. They have not made any changes. It's like they don't read it. This is why I asked, do you guys read it? Does the city council read these audits by the New York State Comptroller? And why hasn't the New York State Comptroller come down here at this point? Nothing has changed. And look what's going on within these departments in these hours. It's crazy. It's absolutely insane. Yeah, Matt, I read that. I would like to see the city's comprehensive annual financial report. All games end there. Well, I'm going to look it up. If I'm going to download it, like I download this one and I save it, and I'll post it online if I have it, if it's there. Try this out, Freddie. For the year and a half that they had me out fraudulently to try and squeeze me into signing away my rights, the other 30 or so lieutenants were cleaning up overtime to fill my vacancy. Wow. Ask Mayor Mike how much the taxpayers spent on his self-preservation mission against Anthony DiMaggio. Absolutely. And against many other people that have sued the city for retaliatory termination and have won millions of dollars. What about Mike Cater, the former city council president who's still currently under this bogus investigation? How much money have they spent? We're probably nearing $1 million just to keep Mike Cater away from running for mayor. So we, the taxpayers, paid that. So this should be upsetting you. And if this doesn't wake you up and it doesn't anger you and it doesn't make you want to vote them out, I don't know what will. And so therefore you cannot complain. And if you are one of these individuals benefiting, then I understand why you don't care. But everyone else should. Everyone. Especially if you got a kid in the Yonkers public school like I do. This infuriates me. Especially when I hear just recently that programs, cheerleading programs, are being cut because of lack of funding. And this is what they're doing. I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. Thank you, folks. I appreciate you. Again, this should make you upset. This should make you very mad. This should. And we should get some kind of oversight. We need federal oversight at this point. This is unbelievable, folks.
Freddie wins.
I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. And how these elected officials enrich themselves and how our city's being robbed of its tax money. Theft of time is theft of city money, taxpayer money. You should be upset when our kids don't have a robust sports program because of lack of funding. Well, this is where a lot of our money is going. It's being stolen by individuals submitting timesheets that are not being reviewed by anyone. And they're getting away with stealing millions in overtime. I'm Freddie Vasquez. Have a beautiful week. Shout out to all the kids. They're off. We'll be very busy at the center. I'm coming for you guys. Relentless. Steve Trevert, the flirt. What are you doing with that consulting company? What about you? Perfect solution, right? Think about it. He named it a perfect solution. It's almost like he's taunting. It's a perfect solution around campaign finance laws.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
In another one, Mr. Rumo lied to me. And I don't vote for a person that lied to me. Thank you very much.
I want to end this quick because I'm greedy and I want some of the butter chicken. So thank you.
Fatality.
Thank you for watching Basement Politics with my husband, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins.